I want to welcome everyone to the Mansfield Area Chamber of Commerce and to our candidate forum. We have drawn our cards and we're ready to go. Are we ready for who's going first? Have you drawn your card laid down? All right. Got it? Who's first, second, third, fourth? Got it? Okay. All right. So in order to do our introductions, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to answer that question as part of your introduction. So here we go. You'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. The remaining questions will be a minute and a half. Christine is actually going to keep track for us. And here we go. So, as the largest employer in the Mansfield area, Mansfield ISD has approximately 4,800 employees and manages a maintenance and operations budget close to $368 million. The role of a school board trustee is critical. It involves governance, policy making, and overseeing the effective management of our district to ensure the highest standards of educational excellence. With these responsibilities in mind, could you share your qualifications, experiences, and perspectives that make you an ideal candidate for this impactful and vital role in our educational community?
I'm first.
All right.
My name is Michelle Newsom. I am a current school board trustee. I have served for 9 years, 3 terms, and I am currently up for re-election. A little bit about me also answers the question about why I'm qualified for this role. Number one, I have been in this role very eager to understand what has been going on and how we make decisions and what's at stake every day. I'm a nurse by trade, but I'm a CEO in my daily life, and I run an extremely large company with large budgets, have to make decisions about policies and regulations and things like that. So this is something that I'm already doing every day. Excuse me. I think that that's a valuable tool to bring to the board because we are never a board of people that do the same thing, think the same way, and we have to bring some versatility to the board and some different perspectives. I believe that accountability is a huge responsibility for being on the board, and I believe my qualifications and what I bring to the table are just that. So I'm excited to be able to serve another term.
Okay. Who's next?
Okay, thank you. My name is Angel Hidalgo. I run for the second place of Mansfield ISD school board. I be a teacher for more than 20 years in the United States. I working in Starlight assistant teacher in special education. Then I became a Spanish teacher in middle school for about 3 years, and then I moved on to getting my master's degree, and I started to teach as a young in UNT, and then I moved to Oklahoma to get my PhD, and I worked over there also as TA, teacher assistant. Right now I'm working in TCC. I'm working with Memphis ISD student and Arlington ISD student in dual credit. Also, I never say that I used to have a business. It's a franchise, Charlie's Great South, from like the 2009 to 2018, I think so, like 9 years. I know how to manage my money, people, employees, etc. I want to do that because, like I said many times, I love what I do. I love what I do. I work hard every single day happy because I'm going to see a student. A student is my life. This is the only thing I can do right now. The only thing I know. I want to give to the United States, the education system, what the education system give it to me.
All right.
Hi, my name is Matt Hersberg. I am seeking to be board trustee in place 1. My background and qualifications kind of work together. I have deep roots in Mansfield, lived here since 2009, and began working at Mansfield ISD in 2008. I was a band director for 4 years, an assistant principal for 4 years, and a principal for 6 years, even having the opportunity to open a brand new campus. That experience as an educator, managing people, managing budgets, interpreting policy, following policy, and making my own decisions as it relates to policy are things that I do every day and continue to do. Professionally, right now, I am a project manager and have the same responsibilities of budgeting and overseeing people, making sure that things are done properly. I'm a current Mansfield parent. I have kids in 5th grade and 2nd grade, so I have the perspective of a parent who is seeing their kids go through it right now. These experiences and what I bring are the things that make me a qualified candidate for Mansfield School Board.
And so hearing Lori talk about all of the big numbers associated with Mansfield ISD, I'm so proud of the district that I live in and that my kids attend school in. And so I've had an opportunity to see all of those numbers, all these employees up close. And through my service. So I also have kids in the district, a 6th grader at Donna Shepherd, a 4th grader at Irma Nash. And so a lot of my involvement in the district has been to serve alongside other parents to make sure that teachers are getting what they need, students are getting what they need. I'm often a person that'll raise my hand and say, how can I help? And so in that way, I have been serving on different local PTAs, on district committees. And so I think it's very important if you're going to lead a district that you've been willing to serve that district. And so that's what you have in me first, is that parent, is the volunteer. But I am a professor, and so that's what brought my family and I here 6 years ago. I work at UT Arlington in the School of Social Work, so I'm an educator. I understand what is on the other side and where we're trying to get our kids to go when we say college ready, what it means to be college ready in the 2024 environment. So every day I am teaching students at UT Arlington, but I'm also engaging in research. And so when you talk about that large budget, I've written grants at the federal level in sums of millions of dollars that have to be not only written but also managed. And so that's a large part of the job that I do as a research professor at UT Arlington as well. I think in terms of school board governance, oh really? That's the professor in me, I apologize. All right. So.
Okay. All right. Let's stay on the topic of budget management for just a minute. How do you plan to ensure that the budget is effectively allocated to address key areas of need within MISD, such as academic achievement gaps, technology upgrades, health services, anything that is highlighted also in the district improvement plan? And draw your cards. Ready? Who's first?
I think first.
All right.
I think it's 10, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, it's important to manage the money in the area the student need and also the teacher need. Okay. My experience in education, what I see the student right now, what they need more is technology. Technology is important for them because this is the way they learn. They learn with technology. If we don't have technology, they always, asking for more and more and more technology. Also, we need to, teachers need to have more knowledge of that. We need to create courses in that way the teachers learn what the new generation, have, because if we don't understand them, we cannot teach them. We almost start to the classroom to management the classroom, not to tell them what to do. It's important the teacher is only the leader in the classroom and then tell you what they want, in what way they want to learn. And I know this is very important for the technology. Also, I start this profession in special education. Okay. So,
Time?
Do you mind repeating the question?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So the question is, how do you plan to ensure that the budget is effectively allocated to address key areas within MISD? Academic excellence, technology upgrades, health services, the things that have been highlighted in the district improvement plan.
Okay, great. So one of the good experiences I've had in the district was to serve on the bond committee. And so we got to hear from every department that is associated with the district and all of the great work that they're doing and the needs that they have. And so I think as a board member, you have that 20,000 foot perspective. And so you're really relying on the expertise of staff that are sharing what those needs are. And so we're asking questions to make sure whatever the budget allocation is, that it extends to every campus. And so I think it's asking the right questions. It's being able to look at data, which is, again, something I do in my work as a researcher, to be able to determine what those needs are. If we're not making the growth in the improvement plan, what are the challenges, and does more of the funding need to be allocated to those specific areas? So I think it's allowing our staff who have the expertise to bring issues to us, but also as a board member being able to monitor that progress and to hold the district accountable, meaning we're not meeting goals, or do we need to change? So support and accountability.
One of the main parts that I took from that question is that things point to the district improvement plan, and the district has a robust plan, Vision 2030, and the guiding statements that really is where the funds should point. They should point towards making sure that the improvement plan is realized. And so that is done through administrative processes. DEIC at the district level, there's campus site-based committees at the campus level take the funds allocated and move them equitably among different areas that will support the Vision 2030 and those guiding statements that are part of it. Across all campuses, we have to make sure that we're focusing on equity among all campuses, and that the size of the campus is taken into consideration, the academics of that campus are taken into consideration, and that federal and state funds, as well as local funds, are allocated appropriately to the campuses with needs that might be greater than other campuses. And so when we're talking about figuring all that out, there is using data and researching as a board member, taking the view from the top and being able to look at all the data that comes in and work with the administration to figure that out. So I didn't see that first one.
So ensuring that our budget needs are effectively allocated is an everyday job of a board member. For us, it's really listening to the community, listening to stakeholders, listening to parents, listening to teachers, and putting all those things together. But then it's helping that administrative team be accountable for those dollars and what that vision looks like. While we have a great vision in the district, sometimes we have to think outside of the box. And so we tend to make data-based decisions within the district. And so holding true to that and holding true to what our priorities are, which are students first. We also need to make sure that we're prioritizing things like teachers' pay, or we're not going to get anywhere down this road, and making sure that we're really listening to what the community has to say. So I will say that this is just a big decision. You have to be willing to make the tough decision. Not everybody's going to agree with your decisions, and you have to be able to stand up and really lay out what all these priorities are and make the tough decision.
Okay, draw your cards for the next question here. Along the lines of vision, what is your vision for MISD's future, and how would you support or guide the superintendent to align with that vision?
It's me. I got a queen.
There you go.
How will I help the superintendent align with the vision? We're a team. It's not about the superintendent, it's not about the board, it's about the team and how we carry the team forward. So being a cheerleader is a definite key responsibility of being on the board, and then holding accountability. Also, as a board member, I believe that a big part of that is making sure that we have the right driver in the seat. So ensuring that we have the right superintendent in place that can do the job, that can make those hard decisions, and that can bring a great team together is part of what that vision is for us on the board. That's what we're held accountable for as part of this vision. So in applying what we see as goals and making sure that the team is together to get it done.
All right, I'm next. My vision for the district is one that is, we know that one of the values is students first, and my vision is to make sure that consistently that we are putting action behind that statement. There's a lot of great things that are happening in Mansfield ISD, and I don't want to minimize anything that has taken place in the time that I was there or after. But I do think that my vision includes making sure that our teachers and leaders are consistently supported, that we're always looking at retention rates and turnover, and making sure that we're putting things in place that help keep our professionals in the district because they're the direct link to the students. As far as working with the superintendent and her cabinet on that, it is a team effort with all the board members and the superintendent to work on aligning the vision and realizing that everything that might be in my personal vision isn't what will ultimately be decided. We have to work together, and I think that when multiple voices come together and work together toward a common outcome, and that being the students first, that the best decisions will be made as we work together.
Right, next, number 6. So vision for Mansfield ISD. I think that Mansfield ISD is an excellent place to live, learn, and teach. And so my vision is that extends to every student at every campus. And so as a parent who's involved in discussions with other parents, sometimes there are those gaps where certain student experiences or staff experiences don't meet that level of excellence. And so trying to figure out how to close some of those gaps. If you're a parent in the district, you just completed the parent satisfaction or parent engagement survey. And so again, here's the data word. If we are collecting that information, then how are we using it? So maybe we're setting some goals around whether parents feel like they belong on campuses, whether they feel like there are issues with bullying on campus. And so just making sure that we're ever inching closer to where more people have that excellent experience. And we can't make everybody happy in a business. You said that we employ lots of people, but to try to inch closer. And so as we're growing, right, we have lots of cities represented in our school district, many campuses, and lots of people moving here. We want to make sure that the umbrella of excellence that we have extends to all of those people. And so in doing that, it is working with other board members. So I serve on other national boards of social work and working with people from all over the country. And so luckily I've been able to serve alongside some of the cabinet already. I'm on the Superintendent's Advisory Council, and so I've seen up close right now with Dr. Cantu, who's in the room, the great ideas, the great level of skill. And so I would just love to be able to say, what do you need to make sure that we can accomplish the goals that we're setting for the district? Is that being stopped? Okay, it's blue, so I'm struggling. All right, so stop.
My vision for the district is what I see in this pen: opportunity for all. This is my vision. I see everybody in the same way. This is the reason for me it's important everybody. Student, teacher, administration, and the superintendent. I think everybody needs to be in the same basket. In that way, the student be successful in life. This is the most important for me. And this is the way when I want to talk with teachers, administrators, or the superintendent, I always going to say the same thing, opportunity for us. That's it.
Okay. All right. Next question. How would you? I'm sorry.
Draw a card.
Yeah, draw a card. All right. So, how would you, or how do you plan to support or modify long-term initiative such as the proposed 2024 bond program to meet the future needs of MISD?
Can you say that again?
Okay. How do you plan to support or modify long-term initiatives such as the proposed 2024 bond program, if it's voted in, to meet the future needs of MISD?
Ace is high.
Okay.
So supporting long-term initiatives, those generally are within the bond. There's a bond such as the bond that's up right now. Those initiatives help to keep our buildings functioning. They help to build new buildings. They help to anticipate future growth. And we all know that it's a lot of money, $750 million on this bond. However, they're all things that are necessary for the growth of our district and keeping our facilities being top rate. When you go to other districts, you can see where things have been let go, and Mansfield doesn't do that. And we're lucky to be in a community that supports these long-term initiatives like bonds. And throughout the time that I've been in Mansfield, all the bonds have been passed while we've experienced really incredible growth in the area. And it's it's disappointing that the state isn't funding our school district with the M&O budget to be able to fund some of these building end of life HVAC and things like that. So really advocating with the state with the funding piece as well.
All right, so we both had a 7, I think, so I'll go. And so supporting or modifying the bond to meet future needs. And so I immediately think about the cost of the bond. And so I think one of the challenges, if it is passed, is to try to get the work done as quickly as possible. We think about inflation. And so in an instance where we have agreed to pay for something, but maybe the cost has ratcheted up or highly increased, then what are we going to do to adjust? And so that might mean looking at stuff further down the road. But I think, again, in that Prop A, the big prop were things, we just have to replace our buses, right? We need the buses to run. And so helping the staff and working with other board members to prioritize if those needs do need to be modified in the future. I think the bond will touch all of the campuses. And so I think it's just in terms of the equity as was presented in the committee, making sure that some of our older campuses receive those upgrades, those updates first, right? So that way we're going about making sure that everybody's getting up to speed, so that excellence extending to all of the districts. So I think some of the concerns potentially around the cost and making sure that we're prioritizing which campuses, our older campuses first as we go forward.
Like my colleague said, the band is very big, and I think they have a lot of money in place. The concern is people from Memphis think they're going to then pay taxes, high taxes. We need to make sure that promise they're going to vote in May 4, keep going, don't change it, because if we say something today and then next year, we're going to start to say, no, it's because inflation or this or that, start to increase the taxes for people in Memphis. They don't want to believe no more in what everything we say. Also, this money going to help a school, and other school, also a stadium, theaters, the student want to benefit for everything. And I think it's very good money, it's very good investment, because the community also going to see how Memphis going to keep going, to grow. This is my idea, like, I think that bond going to help school, city of Memphis to grow and be the best district around here, around that area.
So helping to support or modify the bond, I believe my role is to be the loudest voice in the room and the biggest cheerleader and preach from the toppest mountaintop about the bond, to make sure that people understand that this touches every student, it touches every campus, and what the challenges would be if it was not to pass, I think is something really important to understand, because that's really going to be where the rubber meets the road for us, and some hard decisions will have to be made at that point. And so making sure that people are educated about what's going on, and making sure that those funds are allocated should things not pass. Those become those difficult decisions that have to be made at those times. This takes us all the way back to state funding. So while we're talking about the bond, the only reason why we're talking about a bond is because we aren't appropriately funded. And so making sure that you have a strong enough voice, that you're educated on the information, and that you're willing to sit and speak with decision makers so that changes can be made. These are really, really important things to be done, because we have to be heard, because we can only put out so many bonds to keep our city and our students taken care of the way they are now. So I think being the loudest voice would be the most important part of that.
Okay. All right, next question. So this one has to do with academics, and I don't know if any of you saw, there was an article this morning in the Fort Worth Reporter in regards to the Arlington ISD on reading and mathematics, and at the level that most students were at. So my question to you is kind of in regards to that, but what specific strategies or initiatives would you advocate for to achieve the targets that have been set for excellence in those two subjects of reading and mathematics?
What we would like.
Well, what would you advocate for? What are your beliefs? What are your standings? What are the innovative solutions to get students to the point where they can read and do math? And that seems to be an issue, I know, in Tarrant County, according to what this report said. So I'm just kind of testing the waters there to see what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I'm first. I believe that in Mansfield ISD we have a little bit of a different situation, and we're pretty lucky with that. We are a data-driven district, and so we really hold ourselves with a high level of accountability. So from our district scorecard all the way down to campus scorecards, drilling down even further to students' scorecards, we are making decisions daily and teaching students how to hold themselves accountable, as well as our campuses. And so that really gives us our introspect into what needs to be done very specifically for that topic, whether it be reading or math or that campus or that student. And so I think we already have a plan in place for things like that others don't have. And so that gives us a little bit of a leg up. We also have a great team in place. And so we have amazingly tenured educators and administrative teams that look into new and innovative ideas for what we can bring as far as creative curriculum and activities and processes and stuff that we put in place. And so I believe we have the A team in place to be able to accomplish these things so that we don't have those same repercussions that local neighboring districts have.
Right. So one of the things that I think, I understand the Tarrant County report, but I also know that there's many board meetings that are available publicly where we have those green is good slides, and we're showing how Mansfield ISD is achieving at higher levels than the region and state. And a lot of that has to do because of the way that the district holds itself accountable for continuous improvement. And as a principal, each year I set a campus goal that was aligned to a reading or math goal, and took specific steps and reported those the steps and the data throughout the year to make sure that my measures were leading towards the ultimate goal, which was student achievement and student growth at the end of the year. That process is really unique to Mansfield. It's something that Mansfield's done for a while that helps us to continually grow as a district. The curriculum that we have is an incredible curriculum that is created by teachers and is fully aligned with the TEEPs. So I want to make sure that teachers are able to be innovative and passionate within the framework of the curriculum, to make sure that they are able to close gaps for all students.
Okay. For the student start to keep going to get very good instruction in class, it's very important the classroom management, because the big problem I see when I working in middle school, elementary school and high school is discipline. And I think if we're working in that, I think the student going to improve a lot. I read the curriculum and I know they have in place all the rule and everything. It's important we follow that rule. And also we can do training, teacher training is important, and faculty too. And there are one group we never talk about them, and then it's very important to us, the substitute. Because when the teacher is not in the classroom, who coming is a substitute. And if the substitute don't have the preparation to be in the class that day or for 2 or 3 days, the student don't want to learn anything. Because most of the time, they don't do nothing, because if the substitute need to manage the classroom, don't sit down, don't do this, don't do that, the student for 3 days don't getting any instruction. I think we need to working a lot with the substitute teacher, because they are very important too. Also, we can create work with parent and student. For example, after the school program, in that way the parent can be involved and learn also about what the student learn in class. They can be helped a lot.
Yeah.
So I had the privilege of visiting the Sarah J. Woodville Academy, and so if you haven't been there, you want to stay and play. It is the Early Learning Academy, and so if we think about reading and math, if we can get our students in an early learning environment, that helps to improve their reading scores. And so that is one of the plugs for the bond, is building another academy like that to make sure that our students are meeting those expectations. But other than that, I think it is looking at the who, what, and why. And so we hear a lot about our campuses generally, and so it would be great to know what TEA focuses on is some of the subpopulations of students. So how are our students that speak English as a second language doing? How are our students in Title I schools doing? How are our students that are lower socioeconomic status doing? And so I think in trying to get our students up to the reading levels of the scores, I'm not sure what the article was saying, but making sure that everybody is meeting those scores, it is minding the gaps. And so making sure that we have supports where they are needed. I think maybe if I'm thinking of the article correctly, it was maybe STAR scores not matching like grades in class. And so we know that there's lots of preparation for STAR. We do lots of testing. We do mid-year testing. We're trying to see the progress of our kids as they go along. And I think matching that testing, right? Well, it says that you need support. I know there are tutoring options right now. A lot of people have been encouraged to take some of those options for students to be able to improve not only their STAR scores, but their grades. So, sorry. Okay.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. So part of being on the school board is that you will be a public figure. and especially in an educational role. So go ahead, throw your cards down. I know you're looking at me like, can I throw my card down? Okay. All right. So it's going to involve receiving a lot of feedback, criticism, and sometimes through online platforms. So can you share your thoughts on how you have dealt with it, how you would deal with it, this online criticism, and how you believe that it can contribute to your growth and effectiveness as a school board member? So I want you to look at it and tell me from a positive standpoint, how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna take it? Because it's pretty intense. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. So who gets to go first?
Hey.
All right, Matt, go for it.
So, if I were elected to the board, it wouldn't be my first experience being in the public eye. As a principal, you know, in charge of 1,000 kids and even more parents, feedback and criticism is part of the job. And I've always invited feedback, I've invited criticism. I want to hear what stakeholders are thinking and what they are wanting out of the places that I've served. I've always had something that I call the red team. It's the group of people that tell me why what I'm thinking is wrong. And through that process of being able to change my perspective, being able to fix my paradigms is where I'm able to come out publicly with decisions that are in the best interest of the most number of students or taxpayers and the citizens of the board and the entire community. So on a positive note, it's something that I have experience with and have always handled with poise and grace and being able to speak to those individuals. I like to do it in person or over the phone if we can. I think that there's ways to be misinterpreted if you're just doing that online. So that in person or a phone call is an important part.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, criticism. If you are really being in the classroom in United States, this is the way it is. You know, the teacher is a bad person. Always, in the good manner, I say that in job, but we always receive all the criticism. I remember when I started working in middle school in Strickland, in Fort Worth, Tennessee, the mom came to me and said, my daughter never getting a C in the class. It's the first time. And I said, what? She doesn't do anything. You know, but you need to start and you can argue with the mom. I remember when I coached the basketball game, I see the student, she cannot play because she's very nervous and I don't put her to play. And when we finish the game, his parent coming and push me, hit me, and you cannot do nothing. This is the reason I told you, I learned the criticism in many ways. And the most important, you need to know you're working with a student, they are very smart. They know what they want. And whatever they tell you, it's important to you to keep going, to grow, to be better. This is what I do every single day. Right now I have the email from one student told me, Professor Hidalgo, you did something wrong because I cannot do that question. You cannot say nothing to that student. Doesn't matter if technology. You know, the only thing when I'm going to respond to her, I always going to say, we're going to fix it. Okay.
Sorry, it's time.
All right, so I earned tenure as a professor at UT Arlington last year. And so what a lot of people don't get about the professor gig, right? Yeah, it's flexible scheduling and you get to choose your classes and you have some summer free time. But if you're earning tenure, if by the 5th year you don't demonstrate research success and grantsmanship and in writing articles, you get fired. And so you get a year to find another job. And so that's a grueling process that I went through. And one of the main ways to make sure that I achieved it is by getting rejections and revisions, right? So if I'm doing a research project, if I'm writing a paper, we have our favorite concepts called reviewer 2, and usually there are 3 reviewers on articles, and reviewer 2 is usually that reviewer that is cutthroat and is going to say this is trash, try again. And so that's the nature of the work I do, is where others in the field that you're in, I'm trying to say, hey, you need to make this better, this doesn't represent us well. And so I love that about our district, that we have so many professionals that say this is how we want to be represented as Mansfield ISD. And so if you're not doing that, then you need to change something. So that's the lane I'm in terms of a professor, a researcher. And so I welcome that. When we have our student feedback at the end of the year, we get all of the criticism, and what I try to do is every time I'm teaching is I ask what should be different for the next class, right? And so that is inviting criticism of yourself as a professor. And so I've received just a little bit of criticism online during this campaign. And I want to say that not everybody's going to agree, but I welcome that because we're all here in Mansfield ISD.
All right.
Wow, I have some experience with this, feedback and criticism. But when you are dealing with people's children and their money, so setting their tax rate, this is what you should expect on day one and up until the last minute. And so I believe that you go through this realizing that their feedback offers you some perspective. And you can't sit in a role like this not willing to step into other folks' shoes to see things from a different light. And so while it may not feel good and people don't have the best communication styles, hopefully I'm saying that appropriately, they always have some kind of point or value that they bring to it. And I believe that understanding why, making sure in this role that you're 100% available no matter what form that is, to help have that conversation and to help them to understand why, and for you to understand why is really what you want to accomplish with that communication. And so breaking that down and making sure that you're always available, those are the ways that you deal with this, and making sure that you take a deep breath sometimes with it, but understanding that it all comes from the right place. Everybody's feelings come from the right place. And so making sure that they understand the why and that you can understand their why also is really important.
All right, the last question is going to come from you guys. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask your opponent a question. So if you want to play with me, throw a card down and let's see which team goes first. Which group? That's probably the wrong word.
Gotcha.
Which group of candidates? You're not there yet. You're not there yet. Yeah. All right. So out of the 4, who has high cards? Right here. Okay. So I leave it to the 2 of you. Matt, you've got the high cards. So do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So, Michelle, we've worked together as principal and board member before, and I'm very grateful for the service that you've done for the district for 9 years. Truly, I do. My question is, after 9 years on the board, why do you believe that people should vote for you over someone that's an educator and current parent? How do you stay relevant with not having those credentials anymore?
Sure. So I don't believe that being a board member that you need to be an educator. I think about other boards that there are. The hospital board. The hospital board's not made up of nurses and doctors. It's meant to be community members from different facets of the community that bring different value to the board for those decision-making situations and to keep that company, that machine in check. So I don't believe that being an educator is a number one criteria for being on the board. I believe it brings a little bit of value, but I believe that a board is made up of a team, and all of those pieces of that team are really important. While I don't have students in the district, I still deal with my children and what the district gave them and how that kind of plays out on the other side. I also have a grandchild that will be in the district, so I have a lot of value in that. Many of my friends, family, and colleagues are administrators, teachers, and parents in the district. This is what we do. This is our community. I'm constantly interfacing with people every single day in almost every action that I take with people that are affected by the district, have children, and want to share feedback about what that is. So I don't believe that having to have a student in a spot, in a seat, gives you that aspect. I believe that listening and making sure that you're paying attention to what's going on and being able to make the hard decisions is really the most important part of it.
Okay, Michelle, your question?
So my question is the same to you. What is it that you bring while you are not an educator now anymore in your profession, but you do have a doctorate in education? So what is it that leads you to believe that while you're not an educator anymore, you are the best candidate?
Sure. I believe that there is more value than maybe you gave in that answer for having a current parent on the board, and just to make sure that there are board members that come from all kinds of different backgrounds and perspectives. So even though I'm not in education anymore as a practicing educator, I'm someone that's served the district. Even when I ended my principalship, I continue to serve in different roles, and it's the service aspect to the district that I am seeking this position on the board for. The educator in me, the person that has a doctorate in education, gives me a lot of experience with law, with policy, with understanding legislation and how that relates to our students and our parents in our community. And it's would allow me to be able to be a translator. Sometimes there are things that are difficult to understand, and that we need to make sure that we're activating our parents to fight for our district at all levels.
Okay. Who has the high card there? All right.
Okay, I don't have any question for my opponent, and like I told you, I hope you the best. I think both want the best for Memphis ISD student. And the only thing I can tell you is when this is over, the only thing we can do is keep going. Because to me, for example, the most important is student. And doesn't matter what happened, I love what I do. And I keep going to do it, thank God. I'm going to keep going to teach in a school. And this is the reason why I told you I don't have any question for you. Keep going, good luck. And on the end, we need to accept who is the winner. And that's it, keep going. The life is beautiful no matter what. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Nova had a question for you. So do you think it's important for an MISD board member to have spent time serving staff in our district? If you think that's important, how have you demonstrated that?
I want to. But if you ask, oh, can you repeat again? Oh,
So do you think that in order to become an MISD board member in this district, that it's important for you to have served staff and students in the district? So that's a yes or no, and then,
Yes.
And then how have you demonstrated that
I
service?
demonstrate now working with Memphis ISD students for more than 10 years in DCC. They coming to us, we go to them. We do accredit student all the time.
Okay, so I was asking about in MISD campuses and serving staff as well.
Like I told you, they are high schoolers. They coming to us. We working with them.
Okay.
I'm working right now in the Arlington College, Ely College, but I have a student on Memphis ISD in my class, in my Spanish class all the time.
So through your work at DCC?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone for participating today, and for those of you that are watching, and for the audience, it does speak volumes about the interest and the involvement that our community has. But again, thank you for our time. Our next candidate function will be on April the 18th. It'll be our Chamber Business Luncheon. And it is where our audience will ask you questions. So completely different scenario there. For tickets to that, check out our website. Again, thank you everyone for your time today.
Very clever strategy.
We're off camera. Everybody breathe. Okay. All right.